Teste. Teste.
Está a apanhar bem no YouTube.
Teste.
Sim.
Teste. Teste. Teste som. Teste, teste.
Olha, isto ligado assim, será que resolve?
Sim, eles têm isto em módulo.
Teste. Ah.
Automático para passar aquela cena. É tudo bem. Desliga, mas ele volta.
Então como é que eles não têm problema apareceu? Eu sei que tu não sabes, eu estou a
Esta
desabafar.
gente ontem esteve aqui. Eu não sei se vocês sabem.
Ah,
Vocês foram todos embora. Fiquei a arrumar isto. Bem, então a nossa ministra com a comitiva toda para aqui. Eu fiquei aqui até ela ir embora. Ela teve que fazer um tweet para a SIC. A SIC deu uma notícia errada. E ficamos aqui todos. Eu fiquei aqui com ela. Eles precisaram de coisas lá dentro. Não, o cabo não é esse. Não. Eletricidade, vem por aqui. É. Peraí, vê se eu chego lá. Se eu chego lá. É um destes. Não chego lá, meu querido. Está mesmo interessante. Está aqui nesta calha.
Are you registered at this event? Okay. If you allow me, I'll write you another speakers now.
Oh, great. Where are you from?
Milan, but I run our insurance sustainability practice. So, for working with something new, there's nothing wrong.
Okay, sure. I've heard.
Oh, but sometimes,
What one of them's the World Food Consultant.
equal to 1 because I never had that to be credible enough to pressure test what they want to do, claims ratios, like no the economic.
Like these are people who want to insure this, or people who want
These
to
are
offer insurance.
there is both. So actually there is a lot of people that want to insure.
Yeah.
So I work a lot with the originators, let's say, of carbon.
Teste.
Carbon removal credits in compliance programs, as long as they have to meet the criteria in order to be
You get to be audited, blah blah blah, right?
But right now we're playing primarily in voluntary space. The voluntary space is so fragmented that I think the big brokers don't yet see an opportunity to scale. Yeah.
But what you underestimate is that the broker are in the middle. So for example, the life of trucking industry, right? So we don't need to hide it, you know. So, but maybe to scale.
We're definitely talking different things, but my sense of it right now is that such a good product, and our model.
Are you also talking to Howden or not?
Yes.
You
I
are.
mean, we know Trent. We've been talking to Howden.
Quite a little bit, never any discussion with only one. We are trying to understand exactly what it was. See, and then
Buradan idare elemanı olur mu?
my opinion is
Akıl değişen yok. Orada olmalıydı. İş katında bir bakıyor bak. Onlar eder.
it's a difficult. I think Mark should be my second. If you tell me to rank, Mark should be my second. My last one is. I think that's not really good. You are right if you have small buyers. Probably your clients are small buyers. But big ones, they have. Yeah, but big ones, like I work a lot, AFC, you know them, African Finance Corporation. So they are basically the biggest African infrastructure investors. They get money from government, BlackRock, like they are. They have many funds in something in Africa. So it's like a lot of green infrastructure fund. Now it's not physical business, but it's more important for carbon credit. And what I'm saying is how much is there is no scale. Because you're right, the brokers are just looking for a minimum cutoff of scale. Less than what you think, by the way, because maybe you talk to Graham again, which is like or Mark, which are like collapse. Exactly. So,
And they're like, well, that's how it's always been. At the moment, they're not super.
suppose I find some corporate are interested.
Oh, I would love to.
It's a different thing. Then they have to scale, and then maybe you can accept those in a big scale.
Listen, I have nothing against brokers, but right now they haven't been.
They be responsible, and of course they don't want to
They
change.
are responsible. No, they are talking to us, but they haven't brought us.
Small developers have two things. First, some developers are the trouble with small because some are captives of better. You know better. It's your job. But what I'm saying is, I see that the big picture I see as an average market. You can see what they say. I think there might be exceptions. There might be exceptions.
I would be happy to hear. I mean, I think
Yes, spoken to them.
yes. We have spoken.
Are they taking the risk in developers? Are you sure?
They are slightly different. They buffer on their own. Nestle is a
They're not my client.
and I will tell you that they are one of the few corporates who immediately like, oh, we understand.
Are you
We
speaking
get
to
it.
who? Like sustainability, finance?
Where? And Antonia, and now
Antonia is
Michelle.
my client. She's sustainability officer. And she's moving out of the COO. She's now CEO minus two.
Yeah, I heard it. She's moving under the
No, CEO. So she's in this political period.
Yeah.
Because the new CEO is a big climate believer.
No, that's right.
So I think Antonio is the person,
We're
and then,
probably not.
but then within insurance is not within. No, the guys that buy insurance, they are not within Antonio. They are in the finance.
That's always what happens. Like the
Yeah, but
people
for you,
buying the carbon credits or the sustainability, they don't like they're not necessarily
typically treasury under finance.
yes, exactly.
Risk engineers, right? They don't need
should.
because they want low prices. They buy carbon credits or climate insurance like they buy property insurance, right? But that's why.
I think a lot of the time the CFO is not that conscious of it.
And the problem why okay, speak with my people. And then, okay, speak with my people. Okay, speak
I
with my
spent a long time at Allianz. I worked for the DPA on how this stuff works. Quite well.
Allianz, I worked with Emilia.
Did you?
For Emilia specifically. Ultra, let's say, difficult to get. So, but even Allianz, right? So, for example, I also work for Barbara, which is the COO. She has a passionate nature. You know Barbara well? I know Barbara well. I know Barbara well. Very well. So, and what I'm saying is, sometimes it is difficult for startups. You could also be personally known, and people know you as a person, right? But they have the perception that, yeah, startup, I speak with my technicians. And for example, the fragmentation between finance and sustainability is the same. Because if the two are not aligned, there is no...
Is it hard? Or I just looked at
It's fantini.lorenzo@bct.com. As simple as that. Surname, .bct.
I'll write this and I'll drop you a note because
When we work it out together, I use my
Teste, teste.
below trampoline, you need to go to the two clients we work with. So transition with Alexander Perry, which is the person in charge. These are our clients. No meaning, can we work with them? So anyhow, you need to find a way that there is something that makes you work with this. Everybody
We. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this event, Climate Action as a Cornerstone for Future Insurability. You can use your headphones to hear me better. You should press the white button for some seconds, then it turns on. I hope it works. It's fine? Okay. Great. So, just to start, we'll talk a little bit what we'll see in these next 45 minutes. I will make the introduction for the Impact Center for Climate Change, an initiative from Fidelidade. Then Butch Buchanan from the United Nations will present a report from the UNEP Forum for Insurance Transition to Net Zero. We'll next have a debate about climate action scenarios for insurance industry, and we will close with Diogo Oliveira from the Insurers Association from Brazil, CEAN-SEG, and we will bridge from COP29 to COP30 and the challenges for insurance companies. We will start with a video that will present the Impact Center for Climate Change and also how it integrates in Fidelidade strategy for sustainability. Não estou a ouvir? Não. João. Well, first of all, I'm sorry for the sound issues. Also sorry for the banner from Toshiba. Due to technical reasons, we can't remove it. Ah, you can't hear it? No, you can't hear me. So, that's not good because it's turned on. Now, can you hear me? No?
Som.
Well, eventually, but if they start going to turn on the micro, it will be able to be used.
Som. Som.
Is it okay? Okay. This one, that one. It's already working? Okay. Well, finally it seems that we have all the issues solved. So, I was saying that we couldn't remove the banner, so we'll have sometimes the official sponsorship from that brand of TVs. So I will present you the Impact Center. I'm sorry that you couldn't hear the audio from the video. It was nice, I think. But okay, so let's move on. First of all, the Impact Center for Climate Change is an initiative from Fidelidade and an insurance company, and our mission is to accelerate the climate action in both mitigation and adaptation, and we want to do it through sponsoring and sharing science-based knowledge with society and policymakers and other stakeholders in order to make that climate action and to promote some structural behavior improvements and improving resilience against the emerging challenges of climate change. Our vision, what we aim to be, is a reference climate change knowledge center, partnering with researchers, society and policymakers to act for a fairer world by mitigating impacts of climate change and transitioning to a sustainable and low-carbon future. We will work to become that and make all the efforts. This is our commitment also. In order to promote this action, we have defined our principles for climate action. In fact, there are 10, and they are very comprehensive about what we think that it's the contribution that an insurance company can do for this purpose. First, to foster the integration of net zero ambitions into management. Then, providing knowledge to align investments with ESG strategy. Promote the energy transition by providing solutions from insurance companies to finance those investments. Reduce the protection gap, which is clearly a necessity for adapting and preparing the communities for all these challenges. Underwriting climate scenarios into underwriting and to risk management in insurance companies. Promote knowledge to enhance claims response in major climate events. We as insurance companies are already prepared to deal with these sort of events, but they'll become more and more challenging given the number of claims that will emerge from these events. Promote knowledge and research, promote climate awareness in literacy, and finally to collaborate for climate resilience with policymakers, local institutions and so on, in order that everybody can take their contribution to these goals. But why is Fidelidade doing this? First of all, Fidelidade it's the largest insurance company in Portugal, but it has also a significant market share in several markets. We are in fact in 14 countries around the world, and these make us being exposed to typhoons in Asia, floods in Mozambique, El Nino in Peru and Chile, so we have it all across the globe. We have more than 9 million customers that we are committed to protect, not only individuals but also companies, and this means that we need to be concerned about their properties, their lives, their health, and so we need to understand clearly what are the impacts of climate change and how we can help them to be protected. We also have almost 9,000 employees around the world, our gross net written premiums is above 5 billion euros, and we also have something like 17 billion euros of assets under management. Of course, many of those is also very exposed to the impacts of climate change, and also it's a risk that we have to manage. Additionally, Fidelidade has a strong commitment with sustainability in ESG, in all those three pillars, namely, of course, in the environmental one, with our net zero plan and forestry fund, and also with a proactive role in adaptation. And to say it's important that last year Sustainalytics has considered Fidelidade as the second most sustainable insurance company in Europe. And talking about our net zero ambitions, we have assumed the commitment to be net zero in terms of operations by 2040, and also to be net zero for investments and underwriting by 2050. But to get there, we also define some intermediate targets. We want to reduce our net zero, our CO2 emissions by 40% from 40 to 45% in investments, from 26 to 30% in underwriting, and by 50% in operations emissions by 2030. So this is the reason why and how we will do it. The Impact Center for Climate Change will result from combining synergies from several institutions. First of all, from the Fidelidade internal teams. We have knowledge about insurance, we have data from what happened with the climate events, we have some models, we have R&D capacity, and we have also a very important issue, which is the capacity to deploy action, because we have, as I said, a large number of customers where we can help them to be more protected. But additionally, we won't do this by ourselves. We will need to interact with several external entities like universities and research centers, public entities and policymakers, local administration, non-governmental organizations, reinsurers, regulators, and for sure others. And from these external entities, we will expect they bring us the state-of-the-art in research, more investigation and research capacity, all the information about the more accurate climate change scenarios, also what we can do in terms of improving adaptation, all the needs, opportunities that these institutions identify, so they can help us to prioritize where we should work. Because what we want as an impact center, it's not to do things by ourselves. We want to contribute to the existing knowledge, to all what has been done up to now, and to add up over that, so that we can be more effective in our actions. And with this, we want a holistic strategy to accelerate climate action, both on mitigation and adaptation, of course. We have built our opportunities of action over 5 dimensions, and we've built it around the framework for risk management, considering that to manage the risk, we need to take care of hazards, exposure, and vulnerability. And then we added 2 additional dimensions, which is response and awareness, and recovery. And talking about, recovery is something that insurance companies have been doing a lot, which is help the insurers to be resilient from all these events. As I said before, we need to be more prepared for larger events, because the expectations from our customers is that we be able to solve their problems in a very short term after an extreme event. So we need to mobilize our resources to have that response. But then we need also to increase the awareness of the society, of the communities, and also about of policymakers. We share information so that people can be more prepared to deal with this, to take the right actions, to protect themselves, not only when an extreme event is about to happen, but also right after, so that they can mitigate the consequences. And talking about risk and starting by hazard, of course, we need to mitigate. We need to give a strong response in terms of reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. In terms of exposure, we need to understand in a better way what is the exposure, what is the risk, so that we can make some sustainable reduction of the protection gap in one side, in the other side that we have contributions to reduce the exposure where the risk is higher. And in terms of vulnerability, we also need, and this is something where insurance companies usually are not, but we have to give stronger contributions for the society and the insurer and the policy holders to reduce their vulnerability, and so to be more resilient to the consequences of these events. We are now discussing our roadmap for the Impact Center for Climate Change, and we are building that around the framework. First of all, we need to consider the climate change scenarios for all the events, all the progress that is estimated about greenhouse gases. Then we have to consider what are the impacts about physical hazards and how they will change. And finally, consider the impact that we'll have in socio-economic systems. And how we are doing this? We are basically crossing all the socio-economic systems that can be impacted, which includes livability and workability, food systems, physical assets, infrastructures, and natural capital, and then to see how they can be impacted by the several physical risks like increase of average temperature, precipitation, hurricanes, droughts, heat waves, water supply, and rising sea. And for each location to see what is the level of impact that each of these physical risks can have on these socioeconomic systems. And here it's a work in progress. We have a first go of this classification, but it's something that we are introducing additional inputs. But with this, we will prioritize how we will act. And considering these priorities that result from the crossing physical hazards with socioeconomic systems, we will then take a look at what we can do to deal with these impacts of climate change. And we can do that, and the actions that we consider that we can do is about protecting people, reducing exposure, building resilience, insure and finance. And what we are now assessing is, as insurance company, how can we trigger each of these things that we can do in order to deal with those priorities that we have for medium term in terms of crossing the physical hazards and the socio-economic systems. And the next step will be to fully detail which are the initiatives, all the activities that we can do to deal with these combinations, and of course looking more in deep where we can be more impactful and give more effectiveness to our actions. One final word for something that is a very strong component of the Impact Center for Climate Change, which is having an advisory board. From this advisory board, we expect some strategic guidance, some expertise and knowledge sharing, and also that they can help us to bring some partnerships and strategic alliances. And we've created this advisory board with six persons. From 3 different nationalities, and they will help us to cover the areas like climate change scenarios, mitigation, communication, and so on, biodiversity, all things that are really important to set up our Impact Center for Climate Change. And one of the members of this advisory board is Butch Buchanan, which I will now give the floor to, because Butch will now introduce us a report that is being launched about the Forum for Insurance Transition to Net Zero. And so, Butch, please take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rui. Thank you to the Portuguese government and delegation for hosting us. Thank you to the ambassador of Portugal to Azerbaijan, and thank you to the leading Portuguese insurer for hosting us today at this important event. Um, I'm here to launch the first global guide on transition plans for insurance companies. First of all, I wanted to share with you what is the master narrative of the UN Environment Program's work with the global insurance industry. We believe that in order to fully harness the role of the global insurance industry for sustainable development, we need to harness the triple role of the insurance industry as risk managers, insurers, and investors. The whole business of insurance is based on understanding and managing risk. So by better understanding risk, we can prevent losses and reduce losses. No one wants losses to begin with. Number two, if everything else fails, insurance as a financial shock absorber makes communities and societies become more resilient, including to climate shocks. Thirdly, we also believe that insurance could be treated like other forms of finance, like lending and investment. We believe that insurance is not only there for adaptation, it can also help decarbonize the real economy. And third, the global insurance industry has over $35 trillion in assets under management. The way that capital is deployed would have a telling impact on sustainable development, on climate resilient infrastructure, and also in investment in the technologies that we need to make the net zero transition happen. So last April, the UN Environment Program launched the Forum for Insurance Transition to Net Zero. This is a new model for engagement by the UN Environment Program with the insurance ecosystem. We have insurance companies from across the globe, including companies like Fidelidade, who are part of that ecosystem. In addition to that, we have also created relevant consultative groups which are important in driving change. For example, insurance regulators and supervisors across markets around the world. In Europe, for example, we have the European Insurance and Occupational Pensions Authority as one of the supervisory bodies who are part of that consultative group. We also have created a consultative group of a scientific and academic community and also civil society. And we believe that having a multi-stakeholder approach would enable us to be more impactful, more effective in driving climate action, both adaptation and the net zero transition. We have 4 priorities for the FIT. The first priority is to develop transition plans, help insurance companies develop credible transition plans to net zero. The second priority is to advance net zero insurance metrics and targets that are specific to the insurance business. The third priority is how insurers engage with the real economy. This is not simply about greening or decarbonizing insurance portfolios. We need to decarbonize and make the real economy resilient to really drive change. And fourth, we need to ensure the transition, whether it's renewable energy, long-duration energy storage, or green hydrogen. Those technologies need insurance in order to catalyze and scale up financing in the form of investment in those technologies. So today I'm launching the first output of the Forum for Insurance Transition to Net Zero, or FIT. And this year we prioritize the development of the first ever global guide on transition plans for insurance companies. Why is this important? Number one, global guidance that's specific to insurance business does not exist in the context of transition plans. So we are plugging that hole. What are the motivations and the importance of developing credible transition plans? There are several reasons for the need to develop a transition plan. If you are an insurance company and you make a voluntary commitment, for example, to net zero, you need to show credibility. How can you show credibility? You need to demonstrate a transition plan. What is your strategy and an action plan to achieve your commitment? Secondly, more and more jurisdictions across the world are, whether it's governments or financial regulators, are requiring companies in the real economy and in the financial sector, including insurance companies, to produce transition plans because this will allow investors in companies to have a better idea of the climate risk profile of the companies that they are investing in. This is the reason why in the European Union, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive and the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive are mandating the development and disclosure of transition plans. And third, financial regulators and supervisors, including insurance regulators and supervisors, are increasingly using transition plans to better manage prudential risk. So if there is a misalignment with net zero targets, how could this impact financial stability and how could this impact the safety and soundness of financial institutions, including insurance companies? For all of those reasons, it is important to develop and disclose a credible transition plan. So what is new about this? This transition plan guidance is specific and tailored to the insurance business. First, not every insurer is cut from the same mold. So you have insurers that write global business, you have insurers that write personal lines, you have different levers in insurance. You can have your underwriting policy, you can have use your products to drive change, you can reduce emissions through your claims management, and you can also advocate for policy change such as sustainable land use management. And there are different actors in the insurance ecosystem. If you are an insurer, you have to deal with reinsurers, with brokers, with your clients and suppliers. The other important element in this global guide is that this is not a tunnel vision approach to net zero only. It's not a singular vision to net zero. Yes, there is an overarching goal to net zero by 2050 in order to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. But we believe we will not get there if communities and societies are not resilient to the physical impacts of climate change. This is why we are wiring in adaptation and resilience as an important component of every insurance company transition plan. Third, that transition also has to be socially just. That means we need to take into account impacted groups such as workers, communities, suppliers, and consumers as we go into that net zero transition. Fourth and fifth, nature is part of the solution. Just like climate change and adaptation are two sides of the same coin, climate change and nature are two sides of the same coin. One of the drivers of nature loss is climate change, and one of the carbon sinks that we have are natural ecosystems. So we cannot solve the climate crisis without solving the nature crisis, and we cannot solve the nature crisis without solving the climate crisis. In addition to that, nature offers us a very strong component for adaptation and resilience, mangroves and coral reefs that reduce storm surge, forests that reduce floods, and also extreme heat in cities. Pollution is another big issue. Around 55% of global emissions is because of resource use. And around 90% of land-based biodiversity loss is because of waste and pollution as well. So by addressing climate-related issues and nature and pollution, we are solving the triple planetary crisis of climate, nature, and pollution, and we are also supporting climate goals. So what is our vision? At the end of the day, every insurance company, as we transition to a as we accelerate a just transition to a resilient net zero economy, every insurance company should be able to manage risks, seize opportunities, and contribute to economic, social, and environmental sustainability. And the vision is that both sides of the balance sheet, insurers, as I mentioned earlier, are both have an insurance portfolio and an investment portfolio. That has to be aligned with a credible transition plan. And that singular transition plan will be useful for many stakeholders, for policymakers and for regulators, for consumers, for clients of insurance companies, for regulators who supervise insurance companies, for civil society who want to make sure that the private sector are held to account for their commitments, for employees as well. So that singular transition plan is a plan supposed to be a plan for success. But in order to do that, it has to be credible. So what is our roadmap? We are here in Baku today to launch the first of 3 deliverables. Next year, we'll even be more ambitious. We will go deeper into the insurance business and have further guidance in the context of insurance underwriting portfolios, and ultimately go to our vision of having a total balance sheet approach and guidance that will cover the insurance and investment portfolios of insurance companies. This is why we want to be able to finalize this project by COP30 in Belém, so we can harness the momentum from Baku and maximize our impact in Brazil next year. My final slide is about Brazil. We are very happy that insurance is becoming more present in COPs. This is not only in Baku. We already, last year, for example, I met with Diogo Oliveira, the president of the Brazilian Insurance Confederation in Dubai. And we were already thinking about what we can do in this COP and in the next COP in Brazil. And you will hear, I don't want to steal the thunder from Diogo, so you will hear directly from Diogo what the plans are for COP30. But what I can tell you is that with Fidelidade and the FIT community, with partners like CNSEG, you will have the most impactful initiatives on insurance that will manifest itself in Belém next year. So thank you so much again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the session.
Well, thank you very much, Butch. And now we'll pass to our panel, where I will invite Rui, Butch, and also Lorenzo Fantini. There is a partner at BCG consultancy firm for our panel. So first of all, thank you very much for being here with us today. And I would start with Butch. So how do you believe that FIT is accelerating the scaling up of the climate action in the insurance industry? And how do you think that an initiative such as the Impact Center for Climate Change will support this climate action?
Yes. Thank you, Joe. So we believe that global challenges need collaborative efforts. The FIT is a multi-stakeholder forum. So in order to drive systemic change, you need the different actors in the ecosystem. This is why we don't only have insurers in the FIT, we also have regulatory and supervisory bodies. We also have civil society. We are engaging with the real economy. We are engaging with standard setters like the EFRAG, the European Financial Reporting Advisory Group, the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, the Transition Plan Task Force, the Science Based Targets Initiative. These are all part of the insurance ecosystem. So in order to drive change, we need to transform that system and orient it towards net zero and resilience and adaptation. The other part, Zhao, is that the theory of change is evolving. There is what you call voluntary commitments, which are more in the self-regulation space. We are also harnessing what we can do in the context of soft regulation by engaging with net zero and sustainability standard setters, and also engaging with insurance regulators and supervisors in terms of hard regulation. We need all of these things to contribute to a just transition to a resilient and net zero economy. And to the impact center point, the Fidelidade Impact Center is like FIT. It is a multi-stakeholder approach where you have an insurer, the UN is involved, you have civil society, you have sociologists, you're engaging with researchers and academia. This is the power of having a multi-stakeholder approach. There is strength in numbers, there's strength in diversity. And there's one point that I wanted to stress. I've been to so many insurance and sustainability events over the years. Most of the time, the conclusion of these events is that, oh, if the insurance industry can do so many things, how come it's not perceived in a more positive light? And the reason for that, I believe, it's always, the conclusion always boils down sometimes to, oh, we're not so good in communicating our value proposition. The same way that I was explaining the triple role of a risk manager, insurer, and investor. I presented that to many stakeholders around the world. And when people understand that it's a very unique industry, there's so many levers that we can do. So the Impact Center is one way to address that. You are promoting the role of the insurance industry as society's risk manager. You're not simply keeping it to yourselves, you're sharing it with communities, with governments, with society who are being impacted by climate change. And this is one way to manifest, to achieve self-actualization for the insurance industry.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for all the support of the Principle for Sustainable Insurance and you personally in our initiative. Now, Lorenzo, you actually just released today reports with the UN high-level champions about the role of insurance as an enabler for climate action. Do you want to share with us the key insights?
Absolutely. And first of all, there is many things I agree with you, Batch, including finally insurance is getting its way into the climate debate, right? We talked a lot about finance for so many years, and finance was just banks. Then we remembered multilateral banks, then we remember blended, and also now finally we are actually having a proper insurance debate. So in that context, Batch, I try to link what you were discussing with the forum, which is super interesting. We basically dealt a little bit with your stream number 4, that is about providing insurance scalable solutions. We have spoken about that. And this is a second paper. The first paper we released during London Climate Week was a bit of a call to action. So we were simply claiming that with approved policies, we need 19 trillion globally of capital to flow for, to implement approved policies for decarbonization. So not even 1.5, right? But approved policy scenarios, out of which 10 trillion dollars are not flowing because there is no insurance. Because for some reason, there is not the right underwriting, not the right approach, let's say, to underwrite this capacity. It's a massive capacity, which would correspond to a 50 billion, roughly, insurance premium P&C commercial per year. So again, we are talking about big number. This paper is more about implementation, because another belief we have is this is not about other pledges, other commitments. We have a lot of capital pledged. Despite the new, let's say, political environment, today we have a lot of capital pledged. But the problem is that capital is there and doesn't flow, right? And people don't know really. There is a lot of committed capital from asset managers, from insurers, and so on. So in this paper, we provide 10 examples of real insurer solutions that are now in the market that can scale up to the 10 trillion. Those are 3 categories. The category 1 is really financial de-risking. So think about a lot of the infrastructure projects like you mentioned. No? They are in countries where you need credit risk, you need currency risk, you need geopolitical risk. So you need several types of financial, let's say, de-risking that are super important to get the credit, right, from development banks, specialized agencies, and so on. The second category is operational resilience. I think we always forget that insurance is also about continuity of the business and really smoothening, right, the cash flow and making sure that if you set up a big renewable, let's say, infrastructure, you have some certainty about regularity of cash flow, which is so important for investors, for banks, for many counterparts. And the third lever we advocate is on the public sector side. So you might know there is now a lot on adaptation. There is now a lot of mandatory schemes, right, that are getting pushed across Europe, in Italy, in France very soon, in Belgium, and so on. And so we advocate about what is the role of our insurers, you said it before, to absorb some of that systemic, right, losses that in any case will happen. But I mean, beyond that, I do encourage you to read, because it's the first time ever that we do have a taxonomy for what we mean by adaptation insurance. What are the categories? What are the products? What can be done? It never existed globally before. It's an attempt, so it's very open, and maybe you guys will make it better in the working group. But we really want to be provocative, but that I think insurance is two pillars, right? One is about committing, absolutely, on transition plans and so on. But another one is about delivering the insurance capacity, right, and the insurance solutions, not necessarily with models that are not for profit, right? Because maybe there is a perception of risk in many of those big renewable and infrastructure projects that is much higher than the real one. So again, what we advocate today is a bit of a call for action, is a bit of wake-up call for insurers. I'm sorry for the insurers in the room, to say this can be a very good business. And there is actually a possibility to underwrite a lot of this business.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And we also believe that there's a big business opportunity. That's why we are working a lot on the topic at Fidelidade. And Rui, how do you think that the Impact Center for Climate Change can support climate action? And in concrete, what do you believe that we can showcase in COP30 in Brazil?
Well, for now, we have several active initiatives running, so we will work on them. We will conclude our roadmap that are under definition, and we have a clear path about what we need, what we can do, and what we need to do in the short term and the medium term. With that, we will improve underwriting and improve cross solutions to finance investments and to go ahead with all this necessity to provide solutions for green economy. We will interact with our customers in a more regular basis. We will provide them information about what are the risks that they are exposed to, make clear for them what are the risks related to climate change. Unfortunately, we every day start having additional cases of events that are deathly and high destruction power. But we have several opportunities to interact more with them and to improve their protection. And we will continue that path, communicating more. I think it's a really important task that insurance can develop, given the large basis of customers that they have, to increase that literacy and that sensibility to climate change and to risk management, which is critical for us to be effective in all this protection. For the COP30, what we are aiming is to present what are all the evolution that we have, everything that we've moved on, everything that we've done. We want to share what were our concretizations, what we have done by then. But it's just a stepping stone, because we want to do more and more things in the years to come. So for COP30, we want to present a lot of things that we've done in the meantime, but it's something that we need always to keep looking forward and to continue developing.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you all for enriching the conversation about the role of insurers in the climate action. And I will now pass the word to Diogo Oliveira, the CEO of CNSEG, to give us the final speech of our event.
Hello. hope you hear me. Okay, good. Well, first I would like to thank Fidelidade for the invitation. Great pleasure to take part on this session. Second, I had to tell I tried to excel myself so I could cope with the quality of the speakers, especially Butch Bacani, which I admire the most. And you know that AI is a very great technology, and it makes presentations, speeches, articles, and so on. And I like so much the presentations of Butch that I asked ChatGPT to prepare a presentation for me in Butch Bacani style. Unfortunately, he said, you are not able to do it. Forget it. So I had to say that the work of UNEP FI is being inspiring for the Brazilian insurance market. We were one of the first to sign the PSI, and we've been working with UNEP FI since the beginning of the PSI. But before making the announcement, I would like to let a few key messages for you about the role of the insurance market in the climate agenda. First of all, we really need to understand that we still have a few insurers that are already engaged, but we still have many of them that are not. So there is a great work of engagement that we need to do. Second, we have a great deal to do with the government and other stakeholders to understand the role of the insurers in this agenda. You will see by the end of COP29, as it always happens in all COPs, there will be a final declaration. And I'm pretty sure that there will be little with no mention of the word insurance on this final declaration. This is a call for us that we need to make. Everybody understands that we have a great role on that. I think Rui and Butch were very successful in presenting us all that we can do on this agenda. I won't repeat it all. But I would like to let this message. And this was what Butch was saying about our meeting in Dubai. At that time I said, Butch, my goal is to have the insurance in the final declaration. That's what we are working for. To achieve that, we need to be more present in the COP. We need to be more present in all global discussions about the climate change agenda. And we need to present ourselves as part of the solution. So this is what we've been doing since then. And I would like to make two announcements for you. First is that CNSEG is going to be the first supporter of the FIT in this category. Of course, there are other participants, but in this category of supporters, CNSEG will be the first to engage in FIT, and we are very pleased and very honored for the invitation from the UNEP FI. Second is that we are launching a big pavilion of insurance in the COP30 in Belém, that we call it Casa do Seguro, or the insurance house. It will be a platform for all kind of events. We are inviting authorities, government representatives, major stakeholders in the whole world to participate, to engage in the discussions in the insurance pavilion in COP Belém. And of course, I would like to invite you all to take part on that. Be our guest. We are preparing all the facilities you need to participate in COP in Belém. Well, that's all. Sorry I'm not that good as Butch or Rui, but that was my message to you today. Thank you very much.
So this is the conclusion of our event. Thank you all for taking part of it. I hope you enjoy it. And also I would like to give a final word for the Portugal Pavilion for having us and to give us the opportunity to have this event. Thank you everybody. Thank you all. Enjoy the day.